नमस्कार विद्यार्थी मित्रांनो, मी योगेश सर. आज आपण बघणार आहोत न्यूटन्स युनिव्हर्सल ऑफ ग्रॅव्हिटेशन. नाव बघा मित्रांनो, युनिव्हर्सल लॉ ऑफ ग्रॅव्हिटेशन. बघा मित्रांनो इथं, सो ॲपल इज फॉल ऑन द surface of the earth. So this is the first object, and now it is also known as this concept is called as a gravitation. Now if the two object आहे, suppose which are attracted toward each others, okay, and now in the universe, so universal law, this in the universe, the two objects which attract to each other is called as the universal law of gravitation. Now Newton's law of gravitation. Newton's universal law of gravitation. Because every object in the universe attracts every other object with the force which is directly proportional to the product of their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between their centers. F is direct from the m1 and m2, and F is direct from the 1 upon r square, where m1 and m2 are the mass of these two objects, so this object and this object, okay, and r is the distance between their two objects. Now, so what is the mathematical expression of the Newton's universe? A and B are the two objects having the mass of the A object is m1 and m2 is the second object B, so this is r is the distance between their two objects. Now F and F, this F is which is force towards each others. Force between the two objects is directly proportional to the product of their masses. Okay, has a force and which is directly proportional to the product of their masses. F is directly proportional to m1 and m2, and the force is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between their center. So therefore F is inversely proportional to the distance between their center. So therefore F is directly proportional to the m1 into m2 upon r square. So by removing this proportionality sign by using the g, where g is the F is equal to g m1 into m2 upon r square, where g is the F is the constant of proportionality called as a universal gravitational constant. So now the SI unit of force F is equal to L, and SI unit of radius r is equal to m. So therefore SI unit of mass m is equal to kg. So therefore g is equal to F r square upon m1 into m2. You know SI unit of g is force चा काय असणार Newton, r square is meter square, and m1 and m2 are the kg square. So therefore SI unit of the g is Newton meter square per kg square. Now suppose if m1 and m2 is equal to 1 kg and r is equal to 1 meters. Okay, so therefore substitute the value of this value which in above equation. So g is equal to F 1 square upon 1 into 1. So g is equal to this, g is equal to F. Okay, what is the conclusions? Is behind that universal gravitational constant G is numerically equal to the gravitational force of attraction between the two objects, two bodies, each of the unit having the one. So now this G, universal gravitational constant, is discovered by Henry Cavendish, whose birth is 1731 and 1810. Okay, so now the value of G is the 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kg square, and now the value of G is always constant. So therefore it neither depends on the mass of the object nor on the distance between their center or on the shape, size, nature, and medium separating the bodies. So as the value of G is very small, therefore gravitational force between the any two ordinary objects will be extremely weak. Okay, so G is equal to F r square upon m1 into m2. So therefore suppose all the value r m1 and m2 are the 1, so therefore G is equal to m into 1 square upon 1 into 1. So therefore if these object and this object, which distance is 1 meter and having the mass of the two objects is 1 kg and 1 kg, okay, so therefore this law is applicable to all the bodies having the mass. Okay, so therefore this is called as a Newton's law of gravitation.